closing speaker tonight is somebody truly special that you're going to want to hear. Because for those of you who don't know, I own Small Business Celebration. We're Kern County's largest small business podcast and YouTube channel. And I had no idea the personal story of our featured speaker this evening. Because we as business owners and we as business leaders, many of us were born here, many of us were raised here, and many of us take it for granted what we have here. And our speaker for this evening knows what it's like to not have what we have, and to grow a business to be one that's successful and is truly the American dream. Please welcome Sergio Aguilar.
Thank you, Michael.
Now, one of the great things about Sergio that I learned when I interviewed him for my show is the man can talk.
I won't bore you tonight.
And part of my responsibility is keeping him on track for the next 20 minutes or so, telling you his story, because he is a fountain of wealth of knowledge and inspiration for us all. So, to start off with, where were you born and when were you born?
I was born in Manzanillo, Cuba in 1966.
Who was the leader of the country at the time?
Fidel Castro, right at the beginning of the revolution. The revolution started in 1959. Well, he came into power in 1959. So it was in the early stages of the revolution.
What was growing up in communist Cuba like?
Well, my memories, I came over here as a 13-year-old in 1980. My father was an anti-revolutionary, so he was incarcerated, beat up, and tortured. The stories that I remember is my dad standing up his ground, never letting him change his mind. Through torture, through re-education, they try to change your mind, and through television, which they totally own, and radio, they try to advertise their propaganda, and through school. But my dad took steps to teach us about capitalism, about a dream, his dream was always to leave Cuba, to come to the United States. I remember him saying, in the United States, we're gonna have at least a bicycle or a motorcycle to ride. We have the opportunity to work and better ourselves, but here it's gonna get worse. So because of his thoughts, because of his ideals, he was incarcerated, tortured, our lives was miserable.
What was the tipping point that said, tonight is the night we have to leave?
Well, through political things that happen in the world, Jimmy Carter was the president of the United States, and he actually befriended communist Castro and opened up the doors for political prisoners and their families to leave Cuba through a third country. So you could either go to Mexico, Costa Rica, or Spain. But because we are Spanish descendants and we had family in Spain, we chose Spain, and we had a visa to go through Spain. But in 1980, something major happened in Cuba, which was the Mariel boat lift. I don't know, those of you that are older enough to remember the Mariel boat lift. Castro opened the doors for people to leave, and he sent prisoners, thieves, the worst, the cream of the crop that was in prison. He sent it together with the people that came in the boat lift. Those of you who have seen that movie Scarface, at the beginning, those are real sceneries. We came in a boat like that, but we already had a visa and passport and everything to leave Spain, to go to Spain and live there for 6 months, and then come to the United States. But when that happened, they came knocking on our doors and you leave now or you never leave. And my father said, we leave now. And we came in the boat lift. So it was horrible. That's a whole story that will take a whole day to explain what we went through. People spitting on us, throwing rocks at us. The government put the citizens against the people that wanted to leave the country, and so basically making us be the bad people. And we were just a family that wanted to leave and come to the United States. And we ended up in Florida. and I ended up in the Orange Bowl, not to play football, but as a refugee. We were there in the Orange Bowl as a refugee camp.
Now, many people who have left their home and came through the boat lift, and you get dropped off in the Orange Bowl for processing, would have spent some time there, and they would have gone through and just taken their time, biding their time before they were released. But because of the influence of your father, the very first night you were here in America, what'd you guys do?
My dad had worked for undercover in Cuba, and that's why he was incarcerated. So he had a lot of political contacts out here. So when we went to the Orange Bowl, we were there for a couple of days, and somebody just showed up in a car and picked us up and got us out. And the very first night we arrived at the gentleman's house, they said, we gotta go to work. And
what was that?
my mom's, there was other families that were there,
yeah.
but they didn't offer what my mom offered. My mom said, where are you guys going? I said, we're going to work. They owned a janitorial company. They cleaned gymnasiums, they cleaned banks, schools. And my mom says, no, we're not staying home. We're going with you. We're gonna help, you know? And that first night I learned what a vacuum cleaner was. I'd never seen one in my life. And I learned what cleaning buildings was. And because I was small, my brother was older than me. They gave him jacuzzi and the big work, and I had to do the trash cans and the ashtrays. And
How old were you?
I was 13 years old. And the very first night we landed in this country, free, we started working. And we did that from the get-go, and we never stopped. Until later on, we owned our own janitorial company. We did a bunch of things that we learned the very first night that we came here.
So you were in Miami. You're working and cleaning office buildings.
Yes.
How did you get to LA?
Well, my father had a cousin here that had come over here in 1959, and we had relatives that lived in California, and they were business people, and they asked us to come with them. And my father thought that Florida was too full of Cubans and it was too much of the same thing, and so that's why we ended up in California.
Too many Cubans.
Too many of the same race. Too many of us too loud and too crazy. So we just had to leave.
So tell us the story about your aunt's house in Bakersfield.
My dad's cousins.
Yes.
Well, she lived in Tejon Street, right there by the Flower Street, for many years. And Tejon for us in Cuba is a big rat. So when you see, it's a little mouse, and the Tejon is a big rat. So when we came to Tejon Street, it was quite a shock. There was the rats were not as big as Cuban ones. He remembers that.
And why did you guys make the move to Bakersfield?
Well, we stayed in LA for a few years, but as newcomers, the credit, the money, it was really the same story as today. It's very hard to buy a house in Los Angeles. And my father, we came to visit his cousin. We found out the real estate market here in Bakersfield was very affordable. So although we cleaned buildings in LA and we had business in LA, my father said, it doesn't matter. We're going to work over there in LA and live in Bakersfield. And so him and my mom decided to buy a house out here. Still remember it, 908 Fairview Road, $67,000 back in 1986.
Wow.
And that's how we moved over here. And I'm sorry to say, those of you in Bakersfield that are from Bakersfield, we are actually guilty of bringing like 1,000 people from LA because they came to visit us and they saw that we bought this house, and then I bought another one, and then I moved over here in '89, following my mom and my dad to help them in their business. And more people came to visit, and then I bought a ranch on Mount Vernon, Bear Mountain, and Union Avenue back in 1990. It was $165,000 for 10 acres, 2 homes on it. People came to visit me. They want to move the next day back to Bakersfield. So people from La Mina, this is our family. They came over here, bootleggers, all this business. The good thing is we brought a lot of good business people over, and they've done great in Bakersfield. Arvin, Lamont, we have relatives that moved from all over because the Bakersfield market was so affordable.
So, what inspired you to start your first restaurant?
Well, we had the first thing I had was.
And first of all, what was the name of the restaurant, and what kind of cuisine did you sell?
Well, before that, we bought La Mexicana Bakery in Arvin.
Okay.
And La Mexicana Bakery was just a bakery. I turned it into a meat market. Then we turned it into a restaurant. And that's how my brother's in-laws came from Los Angeles, La Mina. They had a restaurant in Los Angeles. They came to see my operation, and they loved Arvin, and they thought it was so cheap, and they bought a restaurant from me. And that's how they moved to Bakersfield. They actually moved to Arvin first. That's how the whole La Mina business started here in Bakersfield, yes. So then, since being Cuban, a lot of people how many people here know about Porto's Bakery in Los Angeles? Porto's Bakery? All right, so Porto's Bakery is actually from Manzanillo, where the city I'm from. They actually did my mom and my dad's wedding cake. We knew them. My dad used to deliver groceries to their house because we had a grocery store. Well, I didn't. My father did, and my uncle in Cuba. So we knew each other. And people started talking more and more about Porto's in Bakersfield and Cuban food and Versailles. How many people know Versailles in Los Angeles? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we thought Bakersfield was ready for a Cuban restaurant. I'm a chef. I went to Long Beach City College. I have a degree in culinary arts, and I decided to, well, let's do this family business here, and let's start a Cuban restaurant. And that's after having the bakery and having grocery stores and real estate and all kinds of other stuff. But we want to do something from our homeland with love. And we started Cuban Flavor in the corner of Chester in California back in 2007. And I was telling somebody earlier here, John Savovich, a friend of mine, he knows the story. It was a shocker because we did a labor of love. We did it out. I mean, we imported oils from Spain, capers, Spanish capers, all these beautiful things, and it just wouldn't take. It wouldn't.
What was the number one question patrons had walking into your Cuban restaurant? What did they want on the menu?
They wanted to know if it was Cuban food was hotter than Mexican food, like chili hot, which is not. It's a lot of flavor, a lot of spices and herbs, but not spicy hot, and. They wanted to know if we had tacos, if we had enchiladas and tortas and stuff like that. And it was an education. It was just insane. People didn't know what it was. We had to explain it. They wanted to mix flavors that didn't go with each other. They want to have tortillas with their food. And a tortilla to a Cuban or to a Spaniard is an omelet. So we don't eat tortillas as corn tortillas or flour tortillas. It's a totally different culture, and people wanted hot stuff and they wanted tortillas. It was really hard to make people understand that Cuban food is not Mexican food. So it was a pain. It was painful.
At what point did you call it quits and say we have to close this Cuban restaurant down?
Well, about 6 to 8 months into the operation, people kept coming in and saying, we want a torta. A torta is a sandwich, a Mexican sandwich, bread and stuff in it. We tell them we have Cuban sandwiches. You know, it's pork leg, ham, Swiss cheese, pickles, delicious. We put it in a panini press. It's delicious, right? Yeah. Well, we want a torta. We don't want a Cuban sandwich. We want a Mexican tamale. We want Cuban tamales. It's a little tender corn. It's different, you know. No, thank you. They walk out. You get tired of working and doing the same thing over and over again.
But at what point did you say, you put up the white flag and said, okay, we have to close this business and try something else?
About 6 months into it, I started arguing with my brother. My mom wanted to see the palm trees in the corner sign, Cuban food. She was very patriotic and very proud of us having a Cuban business in Bakersfield. That was her dream. She had let us borrow $50,000, and she I want to consult with her. I just want to disclose it. And she said, no, we got to work. Harder than we were working 24 hours a day. I mean, you got to extend the day. It just doesn't work. And I told my brother, listen, we got to make a decision here. People keep asking you, you got to listen to your customer. The customers are saying, we want tacos, we want tortas, we want enchiladas, we want tortillas, and we want salsa. They don't want Cuban. They don't want Cuban food. It's over. If you don't change this thing, I'm leaving. Keep the debt, keep the money, keep my labor, keep everything, but I'm gone. I'm gonna put a taco stand down the street from you. And he knew that I mean what I say and I say what I'm gonna do. And he said, I'm on your side. Convince mom now. I said, Mom, this is happening. Well, my mom, we had to follow my mom because of that. She actually took her apron off and threw it on the ground and she said, I'm never working here again. And she left. And she used to work for free. I mean, she worked like an animal in there. And I understood her position, but as a business person, you have to listen to your customers and make the changes necessary to continue to operate. At that point, we were broke and in debt.
And here's the amazing part. How long did it take you to go from a Cuban restaurant and transform everything, signage, everything, into the very first Fresco's Mexican Grill?
Well, looking back at it now, I think it's insane. I don't think I could do it today. But out of desperation, out of the need of change and having no money, you do crazy things sometimes that are look impossible. But today, it looks impossible to me, and I don't think I would do it again like that. But
how long did it take you?
It took 48 hours. So we closed on Friday, 2 p.m. And we opened up on Monday at 6 a.m. So it was like 40 hours, no sleep. I went to Tulio Ramirez, who owns Concept of Inc. I gotta give him credit for that. And I said, Tulio, I'm broke. This Cuban thing is not working. We're switching to Mexican. We have the menu. We have all these things together. I gotta thank the Lamina family, our family, our extended family. They helped us out with menus, with all this thinking to prepare for the opening. And we had to let go of all the Cuban cooks and hire Mexican cooks, and be talking to people, change the decor, take the Cuban flag up with the Mexican colors on there. I mean, forget about where I was born from. We need to sell Mexican food now. So we took the Cuban emblems and all this stuff, and I still have some in my garage. We took everything off and decorated the place, and we switched it. People believed in my passion and my craziness, and thank God for them, because honestly, without them helping me change the signage and building the menu and putting up the lights and all that, it wouldn't have been possible. And I promise, and also J&E Restaurant Supply on 19th Street. I owed him $17,000. I asked him for $3,000 more. I said, I'll pay you. Just unless I'm dead, I'm not going to pay you, but I'll pay you. He says, go ahead. You already owe me $3,000 more. It won't kill me. And so it took me 3 years to pay those $20,000 back, but we paid him. Today we have excellent credit. We've sold millions upon millions after that, but the rest is history. But it took us 48 hours, and it was crazy.
How many locations do you have now?
So we now have Fresco Mexican Grill number 1, 2, and 3, the original one. One in Mount Vernon and Columbus next to Rosa's Italian Restaurant. Another one in Niles and Sterling. We also turned our banquet hall next to Fresco on California and Chester into a grocery store. That's Fresco Meat Market and Bakery today. So 4 locations until today.
What is the number one thing that, for business owners that are standing here in front of us now, what's the number one lesson learned from the failed Cuban restaurant that you want to say, don't step on that landmine, don't do that?
I believe that number one thing that we learned through the process was listening to our customers. So customers were asking for something, and if you ignore that and you stay with the passion of being patriotic, I'm Cuban, I want the Cuban restaurant, those are feelings. They don't turn into numbers. The numbers didn't make sense. The Mexican food made sense. It has made sense ever since. We now have 105 employees. And also, we don't have the same decor that we had in 2008. We don't have the same look and the same menu. It's been evolving. You got to continue to evolve. If you stay the same, you'll go broke. That's it. I mean, some restaurants open up and the owner wants to just collect money, profitable. Don't spend no money. You have to spend the money to revamp your place and continue to listen to the customers. For example, now for Lent, people do all kinds of promises, all kinds of different things. So we're gonna have LTOs, limited time offers that we're gonna we're offering like chips and fish and chips and several things to accommodate those people's needs. And we'll take it off. We've tried probably 100 different dishes. Out of those 100, maybe we kept 5 throughout the years. But you got to continue to try. You fail, you just continue to try and try and try until something works.
My final question is a loaded question.
Uh-oh.
Is the American dream dead?
Well, the American dream is still alive, just like it was when I came in 1980. There's so much I could say about that, but I have to refrain myself. I don't want to get political. I don't want to get into trouble. But I believe that the American dream is still alive, but we have to stand for the beliefs that have brought us until today, and not change it. If we change the ideals that this country stands for, we're going to be doomed, and I can't go back to Cuba. So this is the last stronghold in the world of freedom, and if we don't protect it, if we don't stand up for what we believe and what has made this country great until today, then I think we're doomed. That's what you wanted to hear? No, I'm just kidding. No question. I said it the best way I can say it without really offending anybody and getting too deep into it. But the American dream is alive. We just got to be outspoken about it, and we got to believe in what has made this country what it is, and not change it. If we change it, we have the examples of Venezuela, Nicaragua, China, Cuba. Those are the examples of what could happen. And I see a lot of people that are American-born that do not understand what's behind the agenda that's been pushed on us. Need I say more?
The classic American dream come to fruition here in Bakersfield. Thank you, Sergio.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So we have 30 minutes left tonight. Don't run away quite yet, Sergio. We have 30 minutes left tonight to go ahead and check out other booths, but I think we have enough time for 5 minutes of questions. Okay. Okay, so let's do 3 questions. And Leland, go ahead.
I'm a retired firefighter, and we had a Puerto Rican guy that worked with us. We went to your place when it was Cuban. It was fantastic. He was so excited. He goes, so yeah.
You're killing me.
Is there any chance you could still do a Cuban, maybe different part? Because
Well,
I think you were telling at the time, because people were coming in asking for burritos and tacos.
Yeah.
The Cuban was out of this world. So.
Well, thank you very much.
Not your mom.
My mom is actually in Cuba right now, visiting family. But let me tell you, Bakersfield is a unique town. A lot of hamburgers, tri-tip, and Mexican food. That's what Bakersfield wants to eat. I brought a cousin of mine who owns Ay Papá Que Rico. It's a chicken place in Los Angeles, very famous. They have 7 locations. We came to Bakersfield, 5620 California Avenue. We have the best chicken, ribs, barbecue, delicious Cuban food. We're not doing very well. Still, they have papas rellenas, which is stuffed potato balls. Porto sold 50 million of them in Los Angeles last year, because I know the Porto owner and he tells me the numbers. 50 million in LA. Here in Bakersfield, we probably sold 500. I don't think Bakersfield accepts that type of food, honestly. El Pollo Rico, R-A-K-O, Rico with a K. 5620 California Avenue, and we have all kinds of Cuban food there, and it's not doing very well. We're surviving.
Got 2 more questions. Yes, sir.
Sergio,
Yes, sir.
so great story. Thank you for sharing. And being an entrepreneur is not one of the easiest things to do.
Absolutely correct.
So what did you do when you were under so much pressure and you were like close to the mind speaks to us as entrepreneurs. Sometimes we just want to give in, say throw in the towel. And is this worth it? All the sacrifice, the commitment, and going through the pain, but also seeing the reward. So what would you tell an entrepreneur that is been in business and that wants to continue to grow, it's under pressure at times, and wants to continue to and not throw in the towel? Like, what would you tell that one person?
Definitely.
Sergio, can I go and just throw 3 words into the answer to that question?
Yes, go ahead.
I know him quite well, okay? Failure is not an option.
Yeah, yeah. Well, John has worked with me for several years now, and I think we have to make an assessment of the situation. Sometimes you have to change a little bit the path that you're going. Like we were going in the Cuban path, we would have been broke. I mean, we were broke. We were indebted forever. I mean, I think that if we had stayed in the Cuban business, we would have gotten sick. Family would have separated. The change to Mexican food was the correct thing, but it was based on numbers. It was based on. It wasn't based on a hunch. It wasn't based on a thought or a feeling. It was based on systematic barrage of customers telling you, this is what we want. So if you're in the entertainment business, but people asking, where do I get my tire changed? There's not enough shops here to change tires, then we got to go that way. So it's got to be on a hunch. And it can be on a hunch. It has to be on something that makes sense, on numbers.
But you're going through and you see the numbers, but the question is how do you keep going? How do you keep motivating yourself to wake up every morning when you're having rocks and stones of life thrown at you? How do you keep going?
You keep going by instilling. I read every morning. I have a horrible habit that I get up at 4:35 just without a clock, and I read every morning, and I feed myself. So believe it or not, I also pray, get on my knees, and I ask for God's guidance. But you have to feed yourself positive thoughts. You have to feed yourself like I live by early to bed, early to rise makes a man strong, healthy, wealthy, and wise. Benjamin Franklin's adage, and he was America's first entrepreneur. And I've read his biography, and I feed myself everything that has to do with business. And I dream big and work hard. Work hard. My wife, we come from a camping trip, and 11 o'clock at night I pull into Bakersfield. Guess what I'm doing? I'm going about my business to check it out. They might need my help. She's like, let's go home. The girls are tired. The girls won't eat if we don't check this business out. So we got to go by there. And guess what? Sometimes my manager, my night manager needs my help. There's a guy there that's messing up things, and I got to get out and take care of things. So passionate about business and got to work 24/7.
Well, we're getting the hook. Because we've got a raffle coming up.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, let's give Sergio one round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.